when you're going to be so tired afterward you'll be taking the Z's. We have a lot of things to cover tonight, so I'm just going to kick it off. First of all, I want to welcome again everyone for joining Team for Kids, for helping to raise money for our youth programs. The kids will be out there in full force to thank you themselves. Who is with us new? Who is running their first marathon? Woo! Yay! Good. We love first timers. It's our favorite audience because we know what it's going to feel like when you cross that finish line. We'll all be crying with you. So tonight I want to introduce some people. First of all, I want to introduce Michael Rogers, who is our Director of Development.
Hi, I'm just going to say a quick word and say thank you so much. Michael Rogers, I'm the Vice President for Development and Philanthropy here at New York Road Runners. And you guys are helping me do my job. So thank you. But no, seriously, my job is to help raise money for all of our youth and community services program. And so you guys, by raising money, reaching out to your friends, your family, and your networks, that's what you're doing, is raising money to support all of our youth programs. This year, I just got the numbers today, our Mighty Milers. Do you guys know what Mighty Milers is? Anybody know what that is? Some faces. So Mighty Milers, very shortly, is one of our two main programs that gets youth between grades 3 through 8 active. Once or twice a week, they're going to run anywhere from a half mile to a mile, and the goal for them over the school year is to run a marathon. So when they get to 5 miles, they get an incentive. When they get to half mile, they get another incentive. When they get to a marathon, they get a medal. And that's their goal, is we really want to get these youth active and moving, and we do it through running. So that's one of the programs, which is called Mighty Milers. The Mighty Milers this year have run 4.5 million miles. And so that is a huge number. It's like, those kids are awesome. So we'll get you introduced to some of them, but that's a free program that happens during the school year, and it's available to the kids throughout the city because of you guys. Because of what you're doing and running the marathon, raising money for Team for Kids. So that's that program. You'll hear more about our different programs, but tonight it was really about nutrition and just the basics of getting ready for the marathon, the training. I'm a marathoner, I'm an athlete myself, and I wish I honestly had this my first marathon, because I did it kind of blindly. Even though I was a runner my whole life, I've been running since I was 10, the thought of running a marathon was like, that's crazy. But it's doable. You've got great coaches and support team here to help you, and I can't wait to see you guys through the practices, through the training, but more importantly on November 3rd over at Tavern on the Green when you cross the finish line. Because as I tell people, it's not, well, there's one there, but the other side of that wall there's a picture, and the first thing that I love to see when I walk in here is the faces of people who have done their first marathon. So I know we have a couple repeat offenders in the room, but for those people who this is your first one, you will love that feeling of accomplishment on November 3rd. So we can't wait to see you there. Thanks again for coming tonight, and I'm going to turn it back to Miguel. And we're here to answer all your questions if you need it. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. We also have Lauren Antonucci, who I will introduce in 1 second. We have Troy from Jackrabbit, and we have our coaches and Mary, and everybody's here. Everybody's here to support you because this is all about you. As Michael said, on Marathon Day, November 3, it is your day. And we want to make sure you get there to the start line, to the finish line, injury-free with big smiles, and that's why we're going to teach you how to run a marathon, because it's a lot more than putting in the 26.2 miles. The training's been going well. Tomorrow night is another training session, and afterwards we're having a social, we're very social people, at Jake's Dilemma, so please bring a friend. Join us if you know anyone who might be interested in running with us. Bring them to a training session. We'd love to meet them. So we're going to kick off tonight with probably the most important part of the marathon. It's as important as your training runs, because without nutrition, you won't be able to get through 26.2 miles or even 10 miles. So with that, I want to introduce Lauren Antonucci. She's a long-time friend of New York Road Runners. In fact, she is our sports nutritionist go-to person. She has so many alphabets after her name. She's an RN, an SN, an XYZ. She is just very, very knowledgeable about sports nutrition. She's a marathoner, an Iron Woman. Take it away.
Thank you. And thank you. I'm not going to be able to stick around for the Q&A at the end because my 2-year-old is home sick, so that's why I'm going first. But that doesn't mean I want to answer, or I don't want to answer your questions. I'll leave my cards up front. Gail always knows how to reach me, so let me just start by saying that. I apologize, I can't stick around for that. I'm going to get through as much as I can. in 20 minutes, although if they didn't
Yes,
give
you
me a
will have
limit,
the
we could
handouts,
talk about this
yeah.
forever.
And
Do
it'll
you guys
all
all
be
have the
posted.
handout? If not, you can get it at the end and we can post it. And anyway, so if you have questions, she can find me or you guys can find me. So yes, and also thank you, my office where I spend my day is like a block from here, so this is perfect, I love it down here now. So I'm a dietitian in private practice about a block and a half from here. I've done the New York Marathon, I don't know, 8 or 9 times and a whole bunch of others. And what I do all day is talk to people about food. A lot of my people I see are athletes, although a lot of them are not. But we all get really excited about first-time marathoners, and there are some overall themes that I would like to cover, and especially since I only have 20 minutes, I'm gonna pick the most important ones for now, not that that's easy to do because they're all important. So I'm gonna completely skip over the really important part about what we eat every day because I don't have time. And I always like to start there when we talk, but we're gonna really quickly, I put a little blurb, I mean really the only thing I wanna say about that right now is that everybody should write down everything they eat for at least a few days, like really just do it. Start with yesterday, today, tomorrow, I don't care. Write it all down and look at it. And at the end of a few days, even if we all did it, we'd all be surprised by something. I don't know the last time I did this was, but I'm sure I would learn something too. You know, you'll learn a bad habit that you thought you had gotten rid of, like eating off your kid's plate, and whoever has kids, all the parents eat off their kids' plates. You realize how much you really do that. Like, they don't eat their food, you eat it. Or how many times your hand goes into that nut bowl, pretzel bowl, Swedish fish jar at work, right? Quantify those things. Or the fact that in 3 days you actually didn't eat any fruit when it's really hot and you love it and you know it's healthy and you're like, that doesn't make sense. All I need to do is figure out how to get the fruit in my office. Like really simple things. Write down how much you drink. So find out, oh look, I have a headache, my back hurts, my workout isn't great. I didn't drink any water yesterday, I was so busy at work. That can't happen. I need to get a big water bottle. So quick, easy things. Pay attention, include all food groups, good complex carbs, get in those good fats, they decrease inflammation, they make us feel fuller longer, they taste good, avocados, walnuts. I see a lot of, I don't wanna blame like a group, runners, go super crazy on the carbs, then we forget about all the fats and then they're hungry all the time and you know, so make room for those. You do need carbs as fuel and we're gonna talk about that and they're super important. But runners, and I am a runner before all else, I would say, I mean, aside from parent, but like as an athlete. So I understand like we were all taught carb, but we really need protein in our diet as endurance runners, marathon runners, and we really need those good fats. So a couple times a day you wanna see a lean protein. Now if you're vegan, it may be quinoa and beans for lunch, and that's okay. And if you like chicken, great. And if you eat fish, fine. And if you ate cottage cheese and you said, I know this has 16 grams of protein, that counts as a good source, fantastic. But I see so many people in my office, they're like, well, I had a lot of protein today. I'm like, okay, well, let's go through. And then the things they think are protein are peanut butter. Did you ever look how many grams? That's not getting you anywhere close to what I just calculated. You need 80 grams. And that didn't get us close. So make sure if you're counting something as a protein that it really is, right? That's it for your taste stuff. More questions on that another time. I think I already took too much time on that.
No, take more, this is very important.
Let's do the training stuff, because I think that's really what we want to talk about today. And if you want to talk more about the day stuff, again, you guys can find me or come see me in my office a block and a half away. I'd be happy to help you. But let's talk about the training stuff. So thank you everyone for saying how important nutrition is. Of course, I believe it wholeheartedly or I wouldn't do this. But you're going to believe it better from them. But for so many people I see after a marathon, the ones I see before the marathon should do very well on the training and fueling. Unfortunately, I see so many people post-event, triathlon, marathon, because something nutritionally went wrong. And they got dehydrated. Or they were running so fast until mile 22 when all of their muscles cramped up and it was like 4 miles of terribleness, right? We don't want that to happen to you. If you stick with Gail and the team and the coaches and you do 90% of the training or something close to it, you're gonna be fine. Really, totally fine, no matter what you really think right now. Then it really is gonna come down to making sure that you fuel those workouts so that you feel good during them. Fuel after them so you can recover from them, because really, as we know and they'll tell you more of tonight and other times, the recovery from the training is as important as the training because you can't do it again next week if you're not yet recovered. And then really fueling during these long training sessions, practicing that. So by the time race day comes, when you're so sick of hearing your coaches and everyone saying nothing new on race day, You will have your nutrition plan, your breakfast, your when to take your gels. Oh yeah, where did you put them? Oh, right here. Fantastic, thanks. What a gel is, whether you tried sports beans, the Gatorade on the course, I've tried it, I know how to do all that. That should not be something you're worrying about, right? And when I've heard, and you've heard like Catherine Switzer and all these like famous people talk about, like well anyway, more on her another time. People who win marathons or have in the past, like pioneers of the sport of marathoning, they will tell you the same thing, like get all of the things that you don't have to worry about out of the way. Nutrition should be one of those things. You gotta get it nailed down and not worry about it. We have plenty of time before this race, guys, right? No problem. So if any problems come up during training, I want you to tell your coaches or email me or figure it out sooner, like my weight's gone up 5 pounds since I've started training, it's 5 weeks, this is not looking good. I've got a lot of weeks left, I don't really feel like gaining another 25 pounds before the race, I should figure this out. Or, I've done 3 long runs, every time I've taken a gel, it makes me nauseous, I feel terrible, I run to the bathroom, I guess I'll just keep trying those gels. No, find something else. Talk to your friends, talk to your coaches. A different gel, another product, don't use that. Those are the kinds of things I want you to think about in your training, talk about during your training, because you gotta have something to talk about, right? So talk about the nutrition and get a plan by race day. So, you guys meeting on the weekends in the morning?
We meet Mondays and Wednesdays at night, 6:30, so a lot of people are coming right after work,
Perfect.
and then Saturdays in the morning.
So, morning run, how long was that so far?
So far, we are up to 8, but they will
Yeah.
progress.
How many of you have eaten something before that 8-mile run? Okay, good. Those people, if I could give you a gold star, I would do it. So those of you who have not, you can raise your hand or not, doesn't really matter, just acknowledge for yourself. Did you do it because you never thought about it, in which case we fixed your problem, you now think about it, forevermore you're gonna do it. Or did you not do it because you think something's bad is gonna happen, like you're gonna get a cramp or whatever, we're gonna fix that too. By the time race day comes, when I make this comment, it sounds ridiculous, like do you think it's a good idea to wake up on race day morning, 3 or 4 hours before the start, be all nervous, get all ready, go all the way there to the starting line, wait around for a long time, and have nothing in your stomach? No, sounds like a bad idea, so you have to start practicing it. So for those of you that already are, great. For those of you that haven't thought about it, Saturday you will think about it. The rest of you are gonna trial and error. If you know, oh, I tried something, it didn't work, I just figured I won't do it again. So what types of things would be good for you to take in the morning before a run? Thoughts? People that have tried it? Yes.
Bagel.
Bagel, that's the number 1 answer, probably because we live in New York. What do we like about the bagel? It's easy, who doesn't like a bagel? Nutritionally, what does it give us? Carbs. And even if it's a whole wheat bagel, it's not really that whole wheat. So it's pretty easy to digest, and you can eat it and keep running. What's the name of the game here, nutrition-wise, for this event, just around the event, not the all-day stuff? It's really just to get in the carbs, maybe some protein, but carbs, fluid, salt, to keep you feeling as best as you can, as long as you can, all the way across the finish line, and done, right? So if you can take in bagels, pretzels, granola bars, Cliff bars, leftover rice that you put some soy sauce on, and eat that in the morning. You'll see on the bus, on the morning, the marathon, especially because this one starts a little bit later, people are doing all kinds of things, some of it might be my fault, salted baked potatoes, again, rice with soy sauce, pancakes, it doesn't really matter. Something you've practiced, easily digestible, carbs, salt. That's what you're looking for, carbs, salt. Maybe some fluid, maybe a little protein. Maybe we don't care about that so much. Nothing complicated. Fiber One cereal is out. Yogurt most people have trouble with. Don't start there. It's funny, but everything I say I have seen. I'm not totally just making it up. Fruit smoothie, great idea on a normal day, but don't try that before your run. Really smooth, easy stuff. People will say, but I haven't eaten a frozen waffle in 20 years. I would never have it cross my lips. Fine, so make your own waffles, but the frozen waffles before a run are gonna be fine. Because again, it doesn't really matter. This is not like virtuous food here. This is easily digested carbs. Get them in, get them digested, start running. Bananas are a great thing to start with if you haven't tried anything. For anyone who's not taking anything in because they've tried it before and it went horribly wrong, again, you don't have to raise your hand. If you do, yeah?
Honestly, I bought bananas.
Yeah?
You said bananas before is good. Why banana is good and the other fruit is not?
Good question. So when I said, good question. I said no big smoothie, it would be a large volume of lots of fruit. And fructose in large quantities can be upsetting to the GI tract. It's hard to digest, it makes you gassy, it makes you have to go to the bathroom, which there'll be plenty of, but you're not really aiming to meet as many of them as possible on race day. A banana is one of the most easily digested, most well-tolerated fruits. So everyone in the room, maybe one or two people would say, it didn't work for me. Everyone else, if you said, we're running a race right now, I've never eaten anything before, I would say try graham cracker, try banana, it's probably fine. I wouldn't eat 6 bananas, but 1 banana, or a banana toast and peanut butter, or a banana and oatmeal, or leftover rice and a banana. But it doesn't have to be a banana, but it's a really easy start. Same thing like animal crackers, graham crackers, I call those like kid snack foods. If you have those laying around your house for yourself or your kids, that would be a great thing to try before a long run. Easily digested, think like things that if you left it in your mouth for a couple minutes would basically dissolve. You're gonna digest really quickly, leave your stomach quickly, make you feel good while you're running. You can use, and I get this question all the time, can I take a gel or a sports drink before I run? Well, yeah, sure, but if you're still home, you might as well eat a banana or graham crackers and save those things for when you're running. Or 5 minutes before race day, which we don't need to talk about. Like at that point, maybe you take a sports drink or a little bit of a gel. But like you're standing on a bridge, getting ready to run a marathon, not in your kitchen, getting ready to run, your Saturday thing. But you could use this. Does anyone take anything in during their runs yet? Yes? What are you taking in? Mind if I ask? You raise your hand.
Oh, is it during a run you said?
Yeah.
Like gels
Gels.
and water.
Good. Gels and water. Anything?
Goose and sports beans.
Goose, sports beans. Anybody anything wacky? No? Wackiest thing you've eaten during a run? Ever eat anything wacky?
No, I haven't.
Ah,
I'm just so
no?
boring.
You know, I hear stories of people packing sandwiches and,
Yeah.
Parnassus or ordering pizzas, but.
And I wouldn't recommend those. I've done up to 50K, not 50 miles, and I've supported my husband do a 50-miler, and like those guys eat all kinds of wacky stuff. Like, we're talking pizza, eggs and toast. Don't do that for this. Do not do that. At some point it can be beneficial. We're not talking that way. As wacky as we would get if you wanted, it's not really that wacky, would be pieces of a granola bar or an energy bar or a Cliff bar or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Triathletes use them a lot. They're really great on a bike. If you're comfortable eating it on a bike and you're coming over to running, it may work. If the gels and blocks and bars and chews feel sugary to you, or you don't like the way they sit in your stomach, you can try those. There's this weird product, Uncrustables. You anyone know what that is? Like this weird, which I think the only reason it should exist is for like people to eat when they're biking, not any other reason. But they happen to be around, so we can take advantage of them. Those weird little things would work. But we do have all of, and thank you for bringing these. We do have all of these samples over here, so I am going to use some of them. For those of you first timers, let me introduce you to the weird world of marathon fueling. So we talk about these gels, blocks, and chews like they're normal, which I agree they're totally not. But since you're doing a marathon, most of you will start to find them normal. And you will stock things like this in your cabinets and come to be really happy when you get to eat them. So what are all of these? This is a Cliff Shot block. It's a really chewy, think like a gummy candy you would have eaten when you were a kid, like those, what is it called? They used to be in those circle, the what? Fruit snacks, but they're a little bit bigger.
Chuckle.
Chuckles, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. It's like a chuckle without the sugar on the outside. These are sports beans. They are exactly jelly beans, tiny bit of extra salt in them. That's my very quick synopsis. But designed more for runners to take in. Now, if you happen to be running and you found some leftover jelly beans in your house, could you eat those? Absolutely. We would just need more salt from something else. The benefits to most of these products is their packaging, because it's really great, easy to carry delivery. So if you open a huge bag of jelly beans at home and stuff it in your pockets to go for a run, probably complicated. The one that you probably don't have at home already, unless, I don't know, you're some kind of crazy chef, maybe is a gel. I think they're sort of cake icing-y, watered down to be a little more viscous, but basically they're around 100 calories, 20 grams of carbs, pure viscous sugar. They don't taste as bad as they think, but most of us have been around them for a while, so maybe that's why I think, some people who really like candy like them right away. Others, it's an acquired taste. You will like them once you take them and see how it helps your running. So I would stick with some of these products, but if you find you grabbed this one and you didn't like the flavor, don't keep trying that one. Or don't keep trying Goo brand, because there are, you even brought some, and this is not even all of them, but here are 3 other brands. This one's a little more liquidy, so I don't know if you can see. This one squishes more. So if you thought that one was annoying getting out of the package, go to the store. I don't think they mind if you touch them. Everybody does. Oh look, this one's mushier. Great, I'm gonna try this one. And then you say, oh, I'm like nothing unorganic touches my lips person. We have one of those. I'm the nothing artificial person, you know. Again, go for this one. It's actually honey, but they've put it in this great packet that you can take and added flavors which make them taste better. Yeah.
Do they sell these like everywhere, or, you know, where do you usually?
So mostly, and I mean, he is at Jackrabbit, and he brought them for us to use, so thank you for that. Running specialty stores like that will sell them. You shouldn't really find these in bodegas because people walking around the street don't really need them, so mostly you have to go to like running specialty stores like Jackrabbit, but you guys have a lot of locations. But any four, one in Brooklyn, 3 in Manhattan, right? And I know, I mean, I need to know where all these things are, because my clients are like, I need to get gels, where should I go? So if you have a bike shop in your neighborhood, a running specialty shop, some carry, you guys have a pretty large selection of nutrition products.
Oh, yeah, that's just.
You know, but if you just need to try some, most of the like running cycling shops will have them. Not Dwayne Reed. One thing I would say about this, I don't know, so many people don't know to look for this, so I think it's important to mention. Anyone see that picture? I wouldn't from there. There's a little picture of a coffee cup. That's convenient. This one has 2 shots of caffeine. Really, really great if you know that you're gonna like die if you don't have caffeine for 5 seconds because you drink it all day long and you would inject it into your veins if you could. Really important for someone who doesn't like caffeine or doesn't drink caffeine or doesn't do much of it or is sensitive to it to know, because if you're not used to it and you take 1 in, you might not feel good. And if you took a few in, you're gonna feel really not so good. Because although caffeine can help us and we know it's a performance enhancer and you know it makes us feel better and more excited to go exercise, and it actually helps spare muscle glycogen, all these great things. But if you're not a person that usually does it or doesn't do well with it, it's gonna leave you with a stomach ache, running to the bathroom, or just feeling like your heart is racing really crazy fast, which you don't need while you're trying to run a long training run or a marathon. So pay really close attention to the caffeine level 1 or 2 or none. I would recommend sticking mostly with non-caffeinated gels, and maybe doing 1 where you really think you need it, so somewhere towards the last third, unless, like I have clients who really drink coffee all day long and don't even know what water is, and so we might put a couple just to keep them at their baseline caffeinated level so they can like keep moving and not run into a tree. But I think I see too much of that around here, this is New York. So if that's not you, really be careful with them, you know, maybe take your coffee before the marathon or your long run starts, and then just do 1 with caffeine towards the last mile 18, 22, where you'll be like super excited to get that little boost. Every marathon pretty much, I don't know if there's one that doesn't serve some type of gel at some point, but really important to note, the place that it serves it is not the only place that you should take it. Most people need more gels than they serve. That's like a bonus. They give it to you in 1 spot. Great, change flavors, grab some. So you are going to need to, in your training, figure out logistics. Where am I going to put them? How am I going to carry them? You know, you may think this sounds like a really good idea until like 3 miles from now, you're like, oh, this is a terrible idea. And then you try sticking it in your sports bra, and you're like, that's a terrible idea. And then you buy a crazy hat. So you have to practice where you're going to carry these things. One of my friends does that. She puts them, Nicole, you never think we should put them all under her hat?
Well,
Yeah.
sounds like.
Some
a
people type them on her arm. I mean, I don't do that, guys hate that, but I've seen it, you know, you can store your stuff however you want, but that's something to think about and make sure you know where you're gonna put these things. The jelly beans, I know someone said they use them, and they can work if you know you really like candy, they work well. The one important thing to note here, and wherever I put my hand out, I put notes in there, you're aiming for something, just to make it easy, something like 30 to 60 grams of carbs per hour while you are running. Take in 120, 250-ish calories. Unless you're a big, tall, strong, muscle person, maybe a little higher. But let's go for 125, 250-ish calories. Okay, so go to this sports beans, and what do most people tell me? Oh, Lauren, I ran 4 hours. I got that whole pack of sports beans down. I'm like, am I supposed to be excited for you? Like, do you have any idea how many calories are in there? Like, I know, it's all of these jelly beans. It feels like a lot of work to take in all of these jelly beans for most people. So I would say for most people, a plan should include A, sports drink, B, some gels, maybe a few jelly beans for fun, right? Because if you look at this and you can see, 100 calories in this whole pack, kind of a lot of jelly beans in here, right? What are the chances that you're gonna shove some in, drop a few, you got like 40 calories out of it and it took you a long time. These I think are slightly easier because they're bigger, but the same thing happens. People get sick of holding the thing or they fall. So I really recommend, because these are more difficult to get all your calories from, and because you need fluids anyway, that you rely on a sports drink as a first base. They're gonna serve it every mile, usually after mile 4 on this course. So as long as it doesn't change, it's there for a reason. You're supposed to drink it. You gotta get used to running over to the side. You've gotta get used to, I threw out my cup. Bending your cup so that the water goes more in your mouth than on the rest of yourself. If you're hot and you're gonna pour 1 cup on your head, you have to take 2 cups. 1 goes on your head so you know you're drinking, and start establishing some sort of plan. Sports drink should be your first line, because if you remember nothing else from this, I want you to think there are 3 things you want to really get in during your run. What are those 3 things? To keep you going, 3 things you need to take in consistently while running.
Carbs, water, salt.
Carbs, water, salt, thank you. I did not plant her there. Carbs, water, salt, and we're gonna put them in order of importance. Water has to come first, because if you're dehydrated, all the rest goes to hell. But all 3 are in a sports drink, and that is why they are popular and they are out there. So it behooves you to like the drink they serve you on the course. That's gonna make your life so much easier. So practice with the drink. I'm assuming it's gonna be Gatorade Endurance again. That hasn't changed in a long time. So try it, try to like it. It's a good product. Most people tolerate it. It's on the higher end of salt content for a reason. It was designed, it's called the Gatorade Endurance for a reason. It was designed after the football player version. This is the endurance athlete version. So it has twice as much salt, because we sweat a lot. They do too, but we sweat for a long time. Yeah.
Would the Gatorade just be enough, you know? do I
It
have
could
to-
be. It could be. So I have done marathons all different ways. I've run New York on all Gatorade, 100% Gatorade. I can drink a lot of fluids. I sweat decently. I'll see you later. When we meet in the park one day. But, you know, means we're in good shape, right? I've done it on all Gatorade. I've done it on sports beans and gels and blocks and chews to try them out when they started, although I would not do it solely on this. Really, that is contingent on you. So if you're of average size and average sweat rate, and therefore average calorie needs and average fluid needs, you could do it on just Gatorade, right? So you might just do all Gatorade all the time, meets all your needs, this is the easiest plan ever, you're fine. Somebody else, he's taller, he needs way more fluid, I'm making this up, but thank you for sitting here and being tall. He needs way more fluid than would be good for him to keep drinking Gatorade all the time. So he's gonna alternate 1 aid station Gatorade, 1 water, aid station Gatorade, water. He's gonna get his 250 calories from his Gatorade, he still needs more water, and maybe some salt out. Somebody else, she's gonna tell me, I do not sweat at all. So she barely sweats, she already just ran 10 miles, she is not wet at all, and it's humid out. We're like, wow, she really doesn't sweat, this is amazing. She needs extra calories, because she doesn't need anywhere near as much Gatorade, because her sweat rate is so low. So for her, or for someone who's like, I just can't drink this amount of Gatorade, this is just not working, I can't get it in, it's too hard, we're gonna use a lot more gels. So there are many ways, and the way I like to do it if I sit down with someone, or if you're gonna do it, is you go through and you go, what are my fluid needs, what are my carb needs, what are my salt needs, am I meeting all 3? Fluid needs is pretty easy to figure out. If you don't have, I'll send you again, like my sweat test sheets, you still have them?
Yes, we do.
They haven't changed, I mean, sweat rate, still sweat
Wait,
rate.
that's okay.
But I can send it to you again, so you can find out approximately what your sweat rate is by weighing yourself before and after some shorter runs, not the long ones, but like a 45, funny, that's short, right? 45 minutes, into an hour, short run. Shorter run where you can say, I woke up, I ate or drank whatever I did, I weighed myself in my tiny little whatever, not a lot of clothing because you're gonna sweat and we're gonna not weigh the sweat, so just shorts or something small. Then you go out and run. If you wanna drink, drink. If you don't wanna drink, don't drink. Come home, check what your weight is without any sweaty stuff on you if you sweated a lot, and see what that differential is. And that differential told us that she really doesn't sweat it at all. He and I sweat. We're good sweaters. Great. We need to drink a lot more. So it's gonna be easier for her. She doesn't have to stop as many aid stations. But we're just gonna have to stop at every single one, or else it's gonna be a bad ending. So she's lucky. She doesn't sweat much, right? Does that make sense? Then you'd figure out, okay, your calorie needs. Well, he's taller. I'm gonna put him at the higher end, 250. You know what? I'm trying to PR this year. I'm taking in 250. We're taking in the same amount. Is that possible? Yeah, could be, right? I mean, nobody's gonna take in so many calories that we couldn't all be in the same range, right? Because we're limited by physiology of the gut and how much you can absorb while running. So we could all take in the same amount, and that's not necessarily weird. So a question I get all the time, I'm training with my friend, boyfriend, significant other, tall guy, why do we need the same amount of calories? Well, because we're talking about per hour while running and digesting and running at the same time. He needs more calories in a day than you do, or my tall girlfriend needs more calories in a day than I do. But don't necessarily use that as a comparison, because we're just trying to fuel the workout. Does that make sense? Okay, everyone should experiment with a little bit of salt during, you brought tons of things, I'm sure you also sell salt tablets there. Neither of us brought any, but you brought more than I did. So, Jackrabbit sells, other places sell tons of salt tablets. It's a really great thing to buy. The other way runners do it is you can go into anywhere and buy something not awful, and come out with those little salt packets. And you can steal those. They get a little messy when they get wet because we sweat, they're hard to open, you just suck it out. So it is a little bit easier to use the salt tablets. And basically they're electrolyte pills, right? Looks like a Tylenol or Advil, but it's electrolytes, presumably mostly salt is what you need. So you can experiment with some of those, especially if you sweat a lot or if you have any muscle cramping. So you do your run this weekend and a couple of you are gonna say, oh, my muscles are cramping up. Great. Say that out loud and your friend is gonna remind you, hey, you should go buy some salt tablets. You're gonna go, oh, yeah, that's right. And everyone should try them at some point. We're gonna be training right through the heat of summer and sweating a lot. They're really not gonna hurt anybody. If you went all wacky on me and said, oh, if 1 is good, 12 is better, and took 12, and you tried to digest 12 salt tablets, they're gonna make you a little nauseous and you're not gonna feel great, so just don't do that. But everybody could easily take 1 before, 1 in the middle, and 1 towards the end, or 1 every hour for a lot of these things. And some athletes with high sweat rates, and some of the tablets that are smaller, and I could throw out names, but I don't wanna confuse you, we may take even more often than that, but on a case-by-case basis, yeah.
If you're taking Gatorade in and the gels with the salt, do you need to take salt tablets, or only if you're sweating like a ton? How does that work?
Good question. So the gels don't really have anywhere near as much salt as you need. If you start to look at, I didn't even say it. I put this on here so many times. So you'll expend somewhere in the realm of, I'm trying to squeeze an hour into 20 minutes. 600 to 800 calories or more per hour. You're going to burn 150 grams of carbohydrate or more per hour. You're going to sweat 1 liter to 1.5 liters or more, except for the person who doesn't sweat much. There'll be one of you, per hour. And you're going to lose 1,500 to 1,500 milligrams of sodium per hour. So when you look at Gatorade Endurance and you see that it has 200 milligrams per 8 ounces, and she wants to do all Gatorade Endurance, so she's going to sweat 1 liter an hour, she's going to drink 32 ounces of Endurance Gatorade, she's going to get in 800 milligrams of sodium from that, she's pretty close. If we see a lot of salt on her, if she sweats more, we might use a salt tablet. For those of you that are not going to do all Gatorade, you're probably going to need salt tablets, because the rest of these products are more designed to get you the carbs, and the salt is not as high. There are 1 or 2 exceptions, but let's just keep it simple for right now. So it behooves you to try some salt somewhere, even if you just bring a little packet. I would definitely try it. In terms of a question that I know I get, the coaches get, everybody gets all the time, and it usually goes something like this. This is how I hear it. Well, I signed up for the marathon because it was on my bucket list, or my friend challenged me, or like whatever. And then I decided to raise money because that makes me feel really good, and I'm so excited about this. It's a great cause. But in the back of my head, if I lost 5 pounds, it wouldn't kill me. Or if I could lose that 20 pounds I gained in college 20 years ago and haven't been able to get off, I would be happy. But for some reason, this marathon training thing, it's not just falling off. And in fact, I might have gained 5 pounds, which is totally bizarre, and I'm almost embarrassed to mention it. It's kind of how this comes out. Okay, so I've heard this 8 billion times, and don't be embarrassed, it's totally fine. So, as I said to Gail before, I have never ever had a person who is just overweight come into my office say, I want to lose weight, and I said, great, you should run a marathon. That's the best way to lose weight. So know that you signed up for this marathon thing for some other weird reason, which you will be very happy about, but it wasn't to lose weight because it doesn't just magically happen. Can you do it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it requires much more than just saying, yay, I'm running a marathon, and upping your training. And for women more than men, we just know physiologically, the more we work out, the hungrier we get. Guys, doesn't happen as much. So there's a deficit. They run 5 extra miles a week, they're only 200 calories hungrier. We are just as hungry as the increase in our exercise, and that just sort of stinks. It's just the way it is. Does that mean that women have to run around starving all the time to lose weight? No. But it means that you need to have a little bit of a plan. So what are the most common things that I see holding people back in terms of achieving the weight loss they want, or the other? Like, I was totally fine my whole life until I started training this marathon, and I put on 8 pounds in 8 weeks, and like, this is not okay, and I wanna do this again, but like, I can't do this. Sort of the most common things I see. 1, not feeling well before and during the workouts leads to very starving people later in the day, where after which you're not really able to make a good decision, right? So where you used to be able to refuse the chips that your so-and-so brought home, or the cookies that were left at home, or the whatever bakery on the way home, or the extra something on the pizza or the hot dogs, you can't anymore, and you just physiologically can't, you're too hungry. And salty foods are ridiculously appealing, and so what do we think of? Not pickles, but chips or French fries. And so suddenly, it's really easy to increase our intake of those things. So make sure that you get in the fuel before and during the training, and get in the salt before and during the training, so that doesn't happen anymore. Another common trap is a lot of people start training for a marathon and they realize maybe they should increase their carbs, which is probably true, unless maybe you were having enough before. And so I see people start training for a marathon and just go like carb crazy everywhere. And while we know that we need them and they're all really good and healthy, you don't abandon all other foods. So if you say, well, I think I probably ate too much protein before, and so I'm gonna cut that out, and so you end up just eating, cereal and bagels and bananas and pretzels, what's gonna happen? How are you gonna feel all the time? You're gonna be starving all the time, right? How many people walk around just eating bagels and pretzels and feeling like satisfied and happy? No. So we have to make sure that we get protein in, which is why we sort of started there. So get protein in, get good fats in. What do I see people do? Oh, I started gaining weight, so I cut out the nuts, the avocado, the olive oil. Probably not the right move unless you know, like, okay, my hand went in the nuts 18 times at work today, or 6 times, or something. Then you. So do a little check-in with yourself and make sure you're making the right choices. I would say most of the time, people come in, they're like, I have no idea what's going on, my weight's going up, or it's not going down. I mean, if we look at it very scientifically and go through, I'm like, okay, great, I can test what your metabolic rate is. So you have to come in, no food, caffeine, or exercise for 3 to 4 hours before you would come in. You have this little machine, it's called a metabolic cart, it's just this little thing. You breathe into a mouthpiece, all the air that you breathe goes in and out of this tube into this little machine for 10 minutes. Measures all the oxygen that you breathe in. And based on oxygen, we know how many calories you need at rest. So we know what that number is, we know how much training you're doing, and we'd say, okay, here's your calorie target. And I'd calculate how much protein and carb and fat you need. And then you would bring your food log because you would have kept it because it's a good thing for you to do. And I would say, wow, look at this, because of all these good reasons, you're eating all these great foods, but you're eating way too much protein and not enough carbs, and that's holding you back. Or way too much carbs and not enough fat. Or one client said recently, he was like, every time, I think I do something right, you tell me to move everything around. Like, he always comes in with, he just read something and he reads something, but he puts everything in the wrong place, right? He's like, the biggest thing you do is move my food all over the place. I'm like, your protein needs to go here, not before your workout, because he used to be a bodybuilder. He tries to eat all his protein before. I'm like, no, you need carbs before now. And then he bought the supplement and he took it in the middle of the afternoon. I'm like, no, that goes after your workout. And once you put the foods that your body needs in the places where it needs it, then the whole fueling and weight loss and weight maintenance thing becomes pretty, I don't say easy because that's not nice, but it becomes way easier than you could ever imagine. So if you're just focusing on the few things that you need to focus on, so many people come in and they're like, I'm trying to eat protein all the time, all the time, all the time. I'm like, why? Well, a few years ago someone told me to, and I look and I'm like, you are getting in enough protein, stop thinking about that, focus on these 2 things. I'm like, oh, freed up so much time, I had no idea to focus on these 2 things, and we fix it. So I would say it's not weird if you're not losing weight, it's not weird if you've gained weight, I'm sure you're not necessarily meant to do. Write it all down, look at it, or have somebody look at it now, soon-ish, because you have absolutely plenty of time to figure this out. We don't like to hear, every year I get a couple people like 2 weeks before the marathon, or all marathons, but the marathon here in New York, because we're here, this is the marathon. So 2 weeks before the New York Marathon with, A, I still need to lose the last 8 pounds, to which I say, sorry, next year, because it's way too late. Or, B, I have no idea what I'm doing for fueling, and my coach has been telling me to come in for 6 months, and by the way, I'm trying to PR and qualify for Boston. But, oops, I should have come in sooner, right? So the first one I say sorry next year. The second one I'm like, well, let's just take a try at it and hope your gut likes it because we should do something rather than nothing. But you guys are getting this now and they planned it now on purpose so that all of this is part of your training. So I don't know how much over, oh, I went way over. Sorry, you told me to not be so, cutting out too many things and I went way over. So you've gotten way more time than I was supposed to, so I apologize to whoever I'm holding up. But hopefully this gives you a really good start and an idea. I'll leave my cards there. If you have any questions, let me know. I do see clients during the day, and my name of my company is Nutrition Energy. Got 7 dietitians with me, a bunch of whom also see athletes, one of whom's a marathoner and a coach. We do also accept insurance, so if your health insurance is nice enough to let you see a dietitian, sometimes it's covered. A lot of the big companies are doing that now, so it's a bonus. We'd be happy to help you if you have any more questions. And I'm sorry I went over to those of you that I called.
That's all right, thank you.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Sit down, I'll let you go.